The transport ship landed with a loud hiss. Steam poured out from the bottom as the doors slowly opened. Inside the giant space station called Orion 7, hundreds of alien soldiers stood watching. They had come from many different planets. Some were tall with green scales like lizards. Some had 4 arms and bodies covered in hard shell. Some were thin and fast with 4 eyes. They all wore military uniforms, and they all stared at the ship's door. David Kim was the first human to step out. He was 23 years old, with short black hair and serious eyes. He carried a heavy bag on his shoulder. In his other hand, he held a leather leash. At the end of that leash walked a large German shepherd dog named Thor. The dog had thick brown and black fur, pointed ears, and eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. Behind David came 3 more humans. Emily Park was small but strong, with her hair tied back tight. James Lee was tall and quiet, watching everything around him. Rachel Cho carried a tablet computer and already seemed to be taking notes about everything she saw. The aliens went silent. Then the whispers started. What is that animal? Is that their weapon? No, it is too small. Too soft. A very tall alien with shiny green scales walked toward them. This was Commander Vrix, the leader of all training at the station. He had yellow eyes with 2 sets of eyelids, and when he blinked, it made a clicking sound. His uniform had many medals on it. "You are the humans," Commander Vrix said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Yes, sir," David said. He stood very straight and tried not to show any fear. Private First Class David Kim, reporting for training. Commander Vrix looked down at Thor. The dog looked back up at him without any fear. Thor's nose moved as he smelled this strange new creature. "What is this thing?" Commander Vrix asked. "This is Thor, sir. He's my companion animal. Earth rules say I can bring him for support during long missions away from home." Commander Vrix made a sound that might have been a laugh. His second eyelids clicked rapidly. "You brought a pet to military training? A soft, furry pet?" Some of the aliens behind him started laughing, too. The big ones with 4 arms made deep rumbling sounds. The thin, fast ones made high clicking noises. "He's not just a pet, sir," David said carefully. "Dogs have served with human soldiers for thousands of years. Thousands of years of fighting with sticks and fire," Commander Vrix said. "This is galactic military training. We fight with plasma weapons and warships. What will your little friend do here? Fetch your slippers?" More laughter. David felt his face get hot, but he did not look away from the commander's eyes. Thor pressed closer to David's leg. A very soft growl came from the dog's chest, so quiet that only David could hear it. Commander Vrix turned and walked away. "Take the humans to their quarters. The far section, away from the real soldiers." 2 robot helpers came forward and led David and his team through the station. They walked down long metal hallways. Aliens of all kinds stopped to stare at them as they passed. Most of all, they stared at Thor. "Look at its fur," one alien said. "So exposed. No armor at all." "Those teeth are tiny," another said. "My younglings have bigger fangs." "Humans bond with prey animals," a big 4-armed alien laughed. "For feelings." How weak. Emily walked closer to David. "I want to punch someone," she whispered. "Don't," James said quietly from behind them. "That's what they want." Their quarters were small. 4 beds, 1 bathroom, a tiny common area. It was the worst room in the whole training facility, pushed into a corner far from everything else. "They really don't want us here," Rachel said, looking around. "Then we make them want us here," David said. He unclipped Thor's leash and let the dog explore the room. Thor sniffed every corner, checked under every bed, then finally sat down in the middle of the floor with a satisfied sound. At least he approves, Emily said with a small smile. That night, they ate dinner in the big mess hall. Hundreds of aliens sat at long tables, eating strange foods from their home planets. The humans had their own food brought from Earth. It looked boring compared to the glowing fruits and moving meats that other species ate. Thor lay under the table, at David's feet. Many aliens walked past just to look at the dog. Some pointed. Some laughed. A few looked confused, like they could not understand why anyone would bring such a creature to this place. Huge alien with 4 arms and skin like greystone sat down across from them. This was Grath, a soldier from a species called the Bronter. He was young for his kind, but still bigger than any human. "I am Grath," he said. His voice sounded like thunder. David replied. "These are Emily, James, and Rachel." Grath looked under the table at Thor. "This animal. What does it do?" "He's my friend," David said simply. Grath stared at him for a long moment. His small eyes blinked slowly. "Friend," he repeated, like he was tasting a strange new word. "We do not have this word in my language. Not for animals." "Then I feel sorry for your people," David said. Grath made a rumbling sound that might have been surprise. He stood up and walked away without another word. Later that night, David lay in his bed. Thor had jumped up and curled against his side, something that was probably against regulations but that David did not care about. The dog's warmth was the only familiar thing in this whole strange place. Through the small window, David could see stars. Thousands of them. Millions. More than he had ever seen from Earth. Somewhere out there was his home planet. His family. Everything he knew. "They think we're weak," David whispered to Thor. "They think you're useless. Just a dumb animal that I keep around because I'm too soft to be alone." Thor's tail moved once against the blanket. "They don't know anything about us. About what we've done together. About what your kind and my kind have been through." David thought about the history of dogs and humans. How wolves had first come to human campfires thousands of years ago. How they had become partners, then friends, then family. How dogs had hunted with humans, fought with humans, died with humans. How they had loved each other across all those long years. "We'll show them," David said quietly. "We'll show them all what Earth really made." Thor's ears moved toward the door. Always watching. Always protecting. Even here, a million light years from home, some things never changed. David closed his eyes and slept. Tomorrow, training would begin. Tomorrow, they would start to prove everyone wrong. Training at the Galactic Military Academy was hard. It was designed to break soldiers, to push them past their limits, to find out who was strong and who was weak. Every species had sent their best young warriors. The Bronter were giants with 4 arms who could lift small vehicles. The Velthari were fast hunters who could outrun bullets. The Croxian were covered in natural armor that could stop knife blades. Humans had none of these things. They were soft. They were slow. They were small. In the first week of physical training, everyone expected them to fail. They did not fail. On the 3rd day, there was a running test. All cadets had to run until they could not run anymore. The Bronter were powerful but heavy. They stopped after 2 hours, their massive bodies too tired to continue. The Velthari were fast but not built for long distances. They lasted 3 hours before their thin legs gave out. The humans ran for 6 hours. When the test finally ended, Emily Park was still jogging in place, barely breathing hard. The alien cadets stared at her like she was some kind of monster. "How?" Grath the Bronter asked. He was sitting on the ground, all 4 arms limp with exhaustion. "How do you keep going?" "We evolved to chase prey," Emily explained. "On our world, we would follow animals for days until they were too tired to run. Then we would catch them." "Days?" Grath's eyes went wide. Our ancestors once hunted by making animals run until their hearts exploded, James added. He was drinking water, but did not look tired at all. Grath made a low sound of something that might have been fear. For the first time, some of the aliens looked at humans differently. Not with respect exactly, but with confusion. How could such soft creatures have such endless energy? But if human endurance earned some attention, Thor earned only mockery. David took the dog everywhere. This was allowed under Earth regulations, but it made the other cadets laugh constantly. Every day brought new jokes, new insults, new reasons why the human pet was a waste of space. One afternoon, David was practicing hand-to-hand combat with a training robot. Thor sat nearby, watching carefully. A group of Velthury cadets gathered to watch as well. Their leader was named Swift, a tall alien with 4 yellow eyes and skin that changed color with his mood. "Look at the human's guardian," Swift said loudly. "So fierce. So dangerous." His friends made clicking sounds of laughter. "Does your animal fight for you, human?" Swift continued. "Does it carry your weapons? Does it have any use at all?" David did not stop his training. He kicked the robot hard and sent it sliding backward. "Thor is useful to me. For what? Warming your bed? Eating your scraps?" Swift walked closer to Thor. The dog watched him calmly, ears forward, body still. "On my world, we hunt creatures like this. They run when they see us coming. They scream when we catch them." Thor did not move. His dark eyes stayed fixed on Swift. "This animal does not even know fear," Swift said, sounding almost impressed for a moment. Then his skin turned an angry red. "Because it is too stupid to understand danger. I think he understands more than you know," David said quietly. Swift laughed and walked away. His friends followed, still making mocking sounds. That night, Commander Vrix came to inspect the human quarters. He did this every week, and every week he found some reason to criticize them. Their beds were not straight enough. Their uniforms were not clean enough. Their equipment was not organized correctly. But mostly, he came to mock Thor. "This creature," Commander Vrix said, standing over the dog. Thor sat at attention, as if he understood that this was an important moment. "I have studied your Earth history. You humans once ruled your planet. You had great cities, powerful weapons, ships that could cross your oceans. And yet, you kept these animals with you. Why?" "They helped us survive," David said. "Helped you survive what?" "Your world is safe, gentle. No natural predators, no environmental threats, no intelligent competition." David almost laughed. "Sir, with respect, our world tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Predators, diseases, weather, each other. Dogs helped us hunt. They warned us of danger. They fought beside us in wars. Wars against other humans," Commander Vrix said with contempt. "Not against real warriors. Humans are real warriors." "Sir." Commander Vrix's second eyelids clicked rapidly. He bent down until his face was close to Thor's. The dog did not back away. He did not growl. He simply looked back at the alien commander with calm, intelligent eyes. "On my world," Commander Vrix said softly, "we feed animals like this to our young. They are prey. Nothing more." He stood up and walked toward the door. Then he stopped and looked back. "Tomorrow begins the combat trials. You will face challenges designed for real soldiers. If your pet gets in the way, I will have it removed. Permanently." The door closed behind him. Emily threw her tablet onto her bed in anger. "He can't talk about Thor like that." "He can," Rachel said quietly. "He's the commander." James sat down heavily. "The combat trials. I've heard about them. A lot of cadets don't survive." David knelt beside Thor and scratched behind the dog's ears. Thor's tail wagged, but his eyes stayed on the door where Commander Vrix had left. Did you hear that, boy? David whispered. They want to feed you to their babies. They think you're nothing but prey. Thor made a soft sound in his throat. But I know what you really are. I know what all dogs really are. You're not pets. You're not prey. David pressed his forehead against Thor's head. You're pack. And pack protects pack. Outside their window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere on this station, creatures from 100 worlds were preparing for the combat trials. They were sharpening claws, testing weapons, practicing their most deadly skills. The humans would face all of them with nothing but soft bodies. Endless endurance, and one loyal dog thought it did not seem like enough. But David remembered something his grandfather had once told him about dogs and humans. They had conquered Earth together. They had survived ice ages, predators, and countless dangers that should have destroyed them both. They had done it not by being the strongest or the fastest or the deadliest. They had done it by being partners. Get some sleep, Thor, David said. Tomorrow we start showing them who we really are. Thor circled 3 times and lay down at the foot of David's bed. His ears stayed up, alert even in rest. Always watching. Always ready. Some things, David thought, were worth more than claws and armor. Some bonds were stronger than any weapon. Tomorrow he would prove it. The combat trials were famous throughout the galaxy. Every soldier who wanted to be someone had to pass them. Every warrior who claimed to be brave had to survive them. The trials had been running for 300 years, and in that time, thousands of cadets had failed. Some had quit. Some had been injured. Some had died. Nobody expected the humans to last past the first round. The first trial was simple. Fight training robots until you could not fight anymore. The robots started easy and got harder with each wave. Most species could handle 5 or 6 waves before the robots became too fast and too strong. David and his team fought for 12 waves. Their bodies were soft. Yes, but soft bodies could bend and twist and dodge in ways that armored bodies could not. They moved together like water, covering each other, helping each other, fighting as a unit instead of as individuals. When the trial ended, they were covered in bruises, but still standing. The alien cadets watched in silence. Commander Vrix wrote something on his tablet and said nothing. The second trial was tracking and hunting. Cadets had to find and capture 3 dangerous animals hidden in the station's biodome. The biodome was a huge indoor jungle filled with plants and creatures from many different worlds. Most teams took hours to find their targets. David's team used Thor. The dog's nose was better than any scanner. He could smell things the machines could not detect. He led the team through the thick plants, around hidden dangers, straight to each target. They finished in 47 minutes. It was a new record after that trial. Some aliens started watching Thor differently. Not with respect, not yet, but with curiosity. What else could this strange Earth animal do? Then the announcement came for the 3rd trial. Beast Control, Emily read from the official message. Her face had gone pale. Cadets must show they can defeat or control a Class 4 or higher predator species. Jing swore quietly. Rachel put down her tablet and stared at the wall. David knew about Class 4 predators. They were monsters. The smallest ones were the size of cars. The biggest ones could destroy buildings. Every advanced civilization used them in war. They were living weapons, bred for killing. The Bronther are brain devastators, James said. He had heard rumors in the mess hall. 800 kilos of muscle and claws. They've been riding those things into battle for centuries. The Valkyrie are using their hunting serpents, Rachel added. Venomous, fast, deadly. What are humans supposed to use? Emily asked. We don't have war beasts on Earth. David looked at Thor. The dog was lying in a patch of sunlight from the window. looking peaceful and calm. He was big for a German shepherd, but compared to a devastator, he was tiny. Compared to a hunting serpent, he was slow. Thor isn't fighting, David said firmly. I won't put him in danger. Then what do we do? Rachel asked. Before David could answer, there was a knock at their door. It was Grath, the young Bronther, who had spoken to them on their first day. May I enter? He asked. His voice was quieter than usual. David nodded. Grath had to duck low to fit through the human-sized door. Inside, he seemed even bigger, his 4 arms barely fitting in the small space. I came to warn you, Grath said. The 3rd trial. It is different for you. Different how? James asked. Commander Vrix has requested a special beast for the humans. Not a Class 4. Grath's rocky face was hard to read, but something in his eyes looked worried. A Shadowmaw. Class 6. The room went silent. Class -6 predators were nightmares. They came from the deadliest worlds in the galaxy. Most armies would not use them because they were too dangerous even for their handlers. A Shadowmaw was the worst of all. Fast as a Valkyrie, strong as a Bronther, and smart. Very, very smart. That's murder, Emily said flatly. He's trying to kill us. I tried to protest, Grath said. Others did too. But Commander Vrix said humans wanted to prove themselves. He said this would be their chance to die. He means, Rachel said bitterly. Grath looked at Thor. The dog had lifted his head, sensing the tension in the room. Your animal, Grath said slowly. It is small, but it watches. It thinks. I have seen this. He paused, seeming to struggle with words. My people use devastators in battle. We control them through strength. We beat them until they obey us. It works, but they hate us. They would kill us if they could. What's your point? David asked. Your animal does not look at you with hate. It looks at you with... Grath stopped. I do not know the word. Love, David said quietly. Love, Grath repeated. Yes, perhaps love is stronger than hate. Perhaps love is stronger than fear. He moved toward the door. I do not know if you can survive tomorrow, but I know that you are not weak. I was wrong about that. Many of us were wrong. He left without another word. That night, David could not sleep. He sat on the floor with Thor, running his fingers through the dog's thick fur. The combat arena was already being prepared. Somewhere in the station, a Shadowmaw was waiting in a cage, ready to be released. They want us to fail, David whispered to Thor. They want to prove that humans don't belong here, that we're too soft, too weak, too dependent on our comfort animals. Thor's ears moved toward David's voice. But they don't understand what you are, what we are together. They've never seen a dog and a human working as partners. They've never seen what happens when pack fights together. David thought about everything his grandfather had taught him about dogs. How wolves had chosen to join humans around ancient campfires. How they had learned to communicate without words. How they had become more than friends. How they had become family. Tomorrow, we're going to show them, David said. Not to prove them wrong. Not to make them respect us. But because that's what pack does. Pack protects pack. Pack fights together. Pack never gives up. Thor licked David's face. His tail wagged slowly. Outside the window, the stars seemed closer than ever, brighter, like they were watching to see what would happen. David lay down on the floor next to Thor. The metal was cold, but the dog was warm. They had slept like this many times before, on camping trips, during storms. After long days of training, tomorrow would be the hardest day of their lives. But they would face it together. That was the human way. That was the dog way. That was the only way either of them knew. David closed his eyes and matched his breathing to Thor's. In and out. Slow and steady. 2 heartbeats becoming 1. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn what Earth had created. The combat arena was the biggest room David had ever seen. It was round like a bowl, with seats rising up all around the edges. Thousands of aliens filled those seats, creatures from every corner of the galaxy. They had come to watch the trials. They had come to see blood. David stood at the arena entrance with Thor at his side. Emily, James, and Rachel were in the front row of seats, their faces tight with worry. They had tried to talk David out of this. They had begged him not to bring Thor, but David had made his choice, and Thor had refused to stay behind. The dog knew something was coming. His ears were forward, his body was tense, his eyes scanned the arena without stopping. Thousands of years of breeding had created this animal. Thousands of years of partnership had shaped his instincts. Thor was ready. Commander Vrick stood on a high platform overlooking the arena. His voice boomed through speakers that made the air shake. Welcome to the Beast Control Trial. Each cadet must face a predator and prove their worth. The rules are simple. Defeat or outlast the beast for 10 minutes. No weapons are allowed. If you retreat, you fail. If you fall, you fail. If you die... Commander Vrix paused, and his second eyelids clicked with something like amusement. Then you fail permanently? The crowd roared with laughter. The Bronther went first. Grath and 2 of his clanmates entered the arena as a huge gate opened on the far side. The Devastator that came out was terrifying. It was like a rhino mixed with a dinosaur, covered in thick armor plates, with 6 legs and a head full of teeth the size of knives. It weighed nearly a ton, and it was angry. But the Bronther knew their beast. They had trained with Devastators since childhood. They moved in perfect formation, grabbing limbs with their 4 arms, pushing and pulling until the creature could not move. In 4 minutes, the Devastator was pinned to the ground, defeated but not killed. The crowd cheered. The Bronther had passed. The Valkyrie went next. Swift and his team faced a hunting serpent from their home world. The snake was 20 feet long and fast as lightning, but the Valkyrie were faster. They danced around it, tired it out, avoided its venomous fangs until it lay exhausted on the sand. 6 minutes, more species followed. Some won quickly, some barely survived. A few had to be carried out by medical robots, injured but alive. Then it was David's turn. The human cadet, Commander Vrix announced. The arena went quiet. Everyone wanted to see this. Private David Kim of Earth. He has chosen to bring his. The commander paused, and his tone dripped with contempt. His pet dog. Laughter echoed through the arena. Someone threw a piece of food at David. Thor caught it in his mouth and swallowed it without taking his eyes off the gate. For the human trial, we have prepared something special, Commander Vrix continued. A Class 6 predator. The Shadow Maw. The laughter stopped. Somewhere in the crowd, someone gasped. Even the other commanders on the platform looked surprised. The gate began to open. The Shadow Maw did not charge out like the Devastator had. It flowed out like living darkness given form. Its body was sleek and black, covered in scales that seemed to absorb light. It had no eyes, just a smooth head with a mouth that split open to reveal 3 rows of teeth. It was as big as a horse but moved like a cat. Silent and deadly. It smelled the air. It smelled David. It smelled Thor. And then it smiled. Shadow Maws were smart enough to smile when they found prey. 10 minutes, Commander Vrix said. Begin. The Shadow Maw moved. Not toward David. Toward Thor. It was testing them, David realized. Hunting the smaller target first. The easy kill. But Thor was not easy. The dog exploded into motion. He did not run away from the beast. He ran toward it. 90 pounds of German Shepherd hit the Shadow Maw's side at full speed. teeth finding the soft spot behind its front leg. The monster screamed. It was a horrible sound, high and sharp, like metal being torn apart. It twisted and snapped at Thor, but the dog was already gone. Dancing backward, barking loud. David moved. He did not think. His body knew what to do because he had trained with Thor since the dog was a puppy. They had hunted together, tracked together, worked together every day for 5 years. When the Shadow Maw turned toward Thor, David attacked from behind, kicking its back leg hard. When it spun toward David, Thor was already biting at its tail. The beast could not focus. Every time it tried to attack one target, the other was there, hurting it, distracting it, making it more and more angry and confused. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. 3. The Shadow Maw was bleeding from a dozen small wounds. None of them were serious, but they added up. The beast was getting tired, getting frustrated, getting scared. At 5 minutes, the Shadow Maw stopped attacking. It began to circle, its eyeless head moving back and forth between David and Thor. It was trying to understand. No prey had ever fought back like this. No prey had ever worked together this way. David was breathing hard. His arms were scratched where the beast's claws had caught him. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. But he did not stop moving. Thor did not stop either. The dog was limping slightly from a hit he had taken, but his eyes were still bright, his tail still high. 6 minutes. 7. The crowd was silent now. No one was laughing anymore. They were watching something they had never seen before. 2 creatures, one human and one dog, fighting as one being, moving without speaking, attacking without planning. Their bodies knew each other so well that words were not needed. 8 minutes. The Shadow Maw lay down on the sand. Its mouth was closed. Its body was still. It was not dead, not even badly hurt. But something in its predator brain had recognized something important. These 2 small creatures were not prey. They were hunters. Better hunters than the Shadow Maw. And they would not stop. They would never stop. They would chase it forever if they had to, wearing it down bit by bit, until it could not run anymore. That was what humans had done to animals on Earth for millions of years. That was what dogs had helped them do. And now, for the first time in galactic history, an alien species was seeing that ancient partnership in action. 9 minutes. The Shadow Maw rolled onto its back. It was a sign of surrender, the same sign that wolves made when they lost a fight. Somehow, across millions of light years of space, the same gesture meant the same thing. Give up. You win. Please stop. 10 minutes. End of trial, Commander Rick said. His voice sounded strange, quiet, confused. David fell to his knees. Thor came to him immediately, licking his face, pressing against his chest. David wrapped his arms around the dog and held him tight. Good boy, David whispered. His voice was shaking. Good boy. You did so good. Such a good boy. Thor's tail wagged weakly. He was tired. They both were. But they were alive. They had won. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared down at the human and his dog, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. Then, slowly, Grass stood up in his seat. His forearms came together in the Bronzer sign of respect, a gesture usually reserved for great warriors. One by one, other aliens began to stand. The Velthari, the Croxian, species that had mocked humans since they arrived, species that had called them weak and soft and foolish. They stood in respect. David did not notice. He was still holding Thor, still whispering to his dog, still feeling the incredible bond that had saved both their lives. Some things, it turned out, were stronger than claws and armor and venom. Some things were stronger than anything in the galaxy. David and Thor had just proved it. 3 days passed after the trial. David spent most of that time in the medical center, getting his cuts treated and his bruises healed. Thor stayed with him every moment, sleeping on the bed even though the medical robots kept trying to move him to the floor. On the 4th day, a message came. Commander Vrix wanted to see David in his office, alone. David walked through the station slowly. Everything felt different now. Aliens who had mocked him before now stepped aside to let him pass. Some nodded at him. A few made gestures of respect from their home cultures. Nobody laughed at Thor anymore. The commander's office was small and plain. No decorations. No trophies. Just a desk, 2 chairs, and a window showing the stars outside. Commander Vrix sat behind the desk. He looked tired. His scales seemed less bright than before, and his second eyelids moved slowly. "Sit," he said. David sat. Thor lay down at his feet, but his ears stayed up, watching the commander. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Commander Vrix stared at Thor like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "I have watched the recording of your trial 43 times, the commander finally said. "I have shown it to experts in combat, in animal behavior, and military strategy. None of them can fully explain what happened. We just did what we always do," David said. "We worked together. Commander Vrix made a sound that might have been a sigh. Such simple words for something so impossible. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, ships moved between the stars, carrying soldiers and supplies across the galaxy. "I have commanded this academy for 80 of your Earth years," Commander Vrix said. "I have trained warriors from 200 different species. I have seen every kind of fighting style, every kind of weapon, every kind of strategy that exists in the known universe." He turned to look at David. "I have never seen anything like what you and your animal did in that arena." David did not know what to say. He reached down and put his hand on Thor's head. The dog's tail moved slightly. "The Bronther control their war beasts through pain," Commander Vrix continued. "They beat them, starve them, hurt them until they obey. The beasts follow orders, but they hate their masters. Given the chance, they would kill every Bronther who ever touched them. That's horrible," David said quietly. "That is how we all do it. Every species in this academy. We dominate our animals through fear and pain. It is the only way we know." Commander Vrix's second eyelids flickered rapidly. "But your animal does not fear you. It does not obey you because of pain. It follows you because it wants to. It fights for you because it—" He paused, struggling with the word. "Because it loves you." "Yes," David said simply. "And I love him. Love." Commander Vrix said the word like it was from a foreign language. "I have studied your Earth history since the trial. I have learned about dogs, about how your species found them, or they found you, thousands of years ago, about how you became partners." He sat back down in his chair and leaned forward. "Do you know what makes this so remarkable? Every other intelligent species in the galaxy tried to conquer their home worlds alone. We fought every other creature. We dominated everything we could. We saw animals as tools or food or enemies, nothing more. Humans did that too," David admitted. "With most animals. But not with dogs. With dogs, you did something different. You shared your food. You shared your homes. You shared your lives." Commander Vrix shook his head slowly. "You made an alliance with another species. A true alliance, based on trust and loyalty, and this thing you call love. We made each other better," David said. "Dogs helped us hunt and stay safe. We helped them survive and thrive. Together, we were stronger than either of us alone. Yes." Commander Vrix was quiet for a moment. "I mocked you when you arrived. I called your dog a comfort creature, a pet, a weakness. I remember. I was wrong." The words seemed to hurt Commander Vrix, but he said them anyway. I was completely wrong. Your dog is not a weakness. Your bond with it is not soft or foolish. It is perhaps the most powerful weapon I have ever seen. He pressed a button on his desk, and a document appeared on a screen. I am sending a formal report to the Galactic Military Council. I am recommending that humans be given full status as warrior species. I am also recommending that the military study your partnership with dogs and try to understand how it works. David felt his chest get tight. Thank you, sir. I am also requesting that Earth send more dogs to this academy. If other species can learn to form the same kind of bond. Commander Vrix trailed off, looking at Thor. Perhaps we could all become stronger. Thor lifted his head and looked at the commander. For a moment, alien and dog simply stared at each other. Then Thor's tail wagged once, slowly, as if he understood what was happening. Commander Vrix made a strange sound. It took David a moment to realize it was laughter. Your animal is judging me, the commander said. I can feel it. Dogs are good at reading people, David said with a small smile. They know who to trust. And does he trust me? David looked at Thor. The dog's tail was still wagging slightly. His body was relaxed. His ears were forward in a friendly way. I think he's willing to give you a chance, David said. Commander Vrix stood up and walked around his desk. Slowly, carefully, he lowered himself to one knee in front of Thor. His clawed hand reached out, hesitated, then gently touched the top of the dog's head. Thor's tail wagged harder. He licked the commander's scaled fingers. Commander Vrix made another sound of surprise. He is warm. And soft. I did not expect that. Most people don't, David said. The commander stayed there for a long moment, petting Thor with a gentleness that seemed strange on such a powerful alien. Then he stood up and returned to his professional manner. You are dismissed, Private Kim. Report to the Advanced Training Wing tomorrow. You have passed all trials with the highest scores we have ever recorded for a first-year cadet. David stood and saluted. Thank you, sir. He was almost at the door when Commander Vrix spoke again. Private Kim. Yes, sir? Tell your dog. Tell Thor that he is welcome in my office anytime he wishes. David smiled. I'll tell him, sir. Outside, the rest of his team was waiting. Emily, James, and Rachel rushed to meet him, full of questions. Behind them stood Groth and a group of other alien cadets who had once mocked the humans. Well? Emily demanded. What did he say? David looked at all of them, aliens and humans alike. Then he looked down at Thor, who was wagging his tail and looking very pleased with himself. He said we have something to teach them, David said. All of them. Grath stepped forward. His forearms were crossed, but his expression was respectful. The creature, he said, nodding at Thor. The dog. It fought with no fear. No hesitation. Only loyalty. He wasn't fighting for himself, David explained. He was protecting me, and you were protecting him. Grath was quiet for a moment. This is not how we do things. We do not form such bonds with animals. We do not trust them so completely. Maybe you should try, David said. You might be surprised. He walked past them, Thor at his side as always. Behind him, he heard the aliens talking quietly among themselves, trying to understand what they had seen and learned. Somewhere above them, stars burned in the endless darkness of space. Humanity had come to this place as newcomers, outsiders, the weakest species anyone had ever seen. But they had brought something with them, something that had been growing for 10,000 years. A bond between two species that had chosen to walk through life together, through danger and peace, through hard times and good times. Love, trust, loyalty. The galaxy had many powerful weapons, but it had never seen anything quite like a human and their dog, and now it never would forget. David scratched. Thor behind the ears as they walked back to their quarters. The dog looked up at him with those deep brown eyes that had seen so much. "Good boy," David said softly. "The best boy." Thor's tail wagged. Some things, David thought, were worth more than all the stars in the sky. Some things were forever.